clarity in dating is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. I'm clear. No way am I dating you. You don't even line up. Bro, she fine though. Nah, I'm good. Yo, you see that walk though? I'm good. Because if I date her, my ship might end up on the rocks. And when your ship, like go back to the early, 1400s, 1500s, if your ship ends up on the rocks, that's all your money. All your goods are laid out, floating in the water. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. Dating without clarity is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. It is indispensable. You must have clarity when dating. Men, you must be clear. You cannot follow your eyes.
Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now. Inspiration and perspective. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live your dream. Your purpose now. Inspiration and perspective. Let's slay your goals.
I want to use the time wisely today, and it really does. I have to talk about the comments, the emails, the DMs that came from last week's show. I'm gonna start there because I had to go back and listen to the show twice myself, and the reason I went back and listened to the show twice is because of some of the emails I got from women. And I need my brothers Titus and Ade, because, I checked in with you all continuously, all right, on purpose to make sure that I was embodying the voice of men, all right? So I want to talk about this because I do find it interesting. I want to, kind of peel it back a little bit, and then we're going to get into step number 3 after I do a recap. But I got 2 very different reactions from men and women about the show. Now, both Ade and Titus can attest, after the show, I got a phone call. And the brother that I spoke to was so moved by the show that he was in tears. Man, thank you for saying the words that I didn't know needed to be said. And he shared with me, by the way, thank you for that phone call, bro. He shared with me that he's been listening for 9 years and he felt last week's show was the best show I ever did. Now, in contrast, I believe that show lost me some female listeners. And I'm still trying to figure out why. But what I will say is I believe that show lost me female listeners for exactly the reason I had the show. And that is to empower men. That show was about men. It was not about women. I was speaking to men. And so if you found yourself as a woman being triggered by information about men, for men, then I think it kind of shows like how much of a gap there is in our community around how men and women relate to one another. Now, there was one piece in particular that people were really caught up on. I'm going to go to that in a moment. But I do want to come back to this. The male messages I received were, thank you, thank you, thank you. I felt heard, I felt seen, and I learned something I didn't know, right? Like things that just really great feedback from the men. And by the way, not when I say the women, I'm not saying all women. I'm saying the women who reached out. I didn't have a woman reach out and say, well, that's not true. In the comments, there were women, the sisters on Facebook, who said, great show. So let me put that out there. They were like, great show, loved it, okay? But in terms of people who took time to write me, that were female, they did not like the show at all. And I just want to say, like, you don't got to like it. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop talking about it, number one. But I also want to say this. When I'm offended by something, and I think this is a lesson for all of us, when I'm offended by something, typically it's because of a lack of understanding. Offense is typically caused by a lack of understanding in this moment. Let me ask you a question. This is for everyone. Have you ever been offended by something that when you got more context and you understood what happened 360 degrees around, you were like, oh, like, and it shifted how you felt about it. Like, and you could have been angry, upset, like, I can't believe. But then when you had understanding about the same thing you were angry about, like all of a sudden the anger dissipates. Now I have a full understanding. And I've said this before. One of the things that I believe is that when you are offended, if you're triggered by something, it's because either one, most of the time we're triggered by things we can't be within ourselves, right? So then it makes me question, like, well, do you? Like, if you're so offended, I'm going to talk about the thing in particular that, the women were offended by. And I'm going to read some of the comments. I'm not going to call any names. I am going to read some of the comments. Okay. But when you feel that way, when I'm triggered by something, typically what's triggering in me is something I can't be within myself. Like, let that sit for a minute. Like, I'm triggered because there's something I'm witnessing, something I'm seeing that I cannot be within myself. All right, and that's a psychological fact. You can go Google it. That's just how, when I'm triggered, it's because, I can do that, but you don't do that to me, right? Now, I see it too because I do it. You get where I'm going? So don't do that. Don't, if I'm a manipulator, I'll be very offended if someone tries to manipulate me. Don't you try to manipulate me. I know what manipulation looks like because I do it. And of course, it doesn't come out that way, right? But that's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm mad you tried to play that game on me because I play that game on people. Okay? All right, so I want to put that out there. Now, here's the other piece. This is not a man versus woman show. This is to support us all as a community. I want to be very clear about that. Okay, so I'm sharing this, not, and by the way, my content, I would say, is universal, unisex. Very seldom have I done things specifically for a group. Okay, but I'm doing that. I'm doing that because it's necessary, it's needed. And by the way, I do believe that it benefits women long term for men to be empowered. What we established is that, one, men in general find dating apps ineffective for dating, right? Men in general. We're not talking about the top 10 to 15% on the apps. We're talking about men in general find dating apps ineffective for dating. However, men in general are 50-50 on approaching a woman they are very attracted to in public. Now, I went and looked at the data after the show, and you all represent the data for most men, where you're like, 50-50, okay, on approaching a woman that they're very attracted to in public. I find, and by the way, as a Gen Xer, I'm still baffled by this, right? I'm like, okay, but I mean, it's a different world we live in 2024. Now, also, men in general are more likely to approach a woman they are very attracted to in a social setting. So it has to be a social setting. Okay, I'll actually approach this woman. Men in general will allow a romantic relationship to continue that they know will eventually end due to the level of attraction they have for that current partner. All right. And this is, by the way, women can take that how they will. Like, what? This, I believe in some ways women do the same thing. If we switched it to from a level of attraction to level of financial success, a woman will allow a man who's financially successful. I don't think this relationship's going to work, but she might likely would stay in it longer, right, because of the perceived stability, right? I don't have any facts on that. That's just an assumption. Let me say that clearly. Okay. All right. We also establish the importance of writing down the core values and character. We're going to come back to this. But for men in particular, we establish the importance of writing down the core values and character we'd like to see in a woman we will seriously date. All right? And by the way, step number 3 is clear intention. And so I'm going to be coming back to this because I believe one of the reasons many of us as men find ourselves in relationships that we are trying to figure out how we got in is because we don't have very clear intentions, like very clear written down intentions. As a matter of fact, I asked both Ade and Titus, do you have yours written down? Both of you know what you're looking for in terms of character and core values in a woman, but you didn't have it written down, which means that if she's fine enough, if we can go right back to what I just shared, where men in general allow a romantic relationship to continue longer than it should, because they're very attracted to the partner. Okay. All right. And one of the things we talked about last week is men perceive that we have more time. Now, not just perceive, we do have more biological time to start a family. So we tend to, 5 years. And by the way, I mean, if you throw together the years that I was in a monogamous relationship, you would say, well, how did he still have a family? But I got married at 38. Where I could still have, like if I were a woman, and we're just talking biological. Can I talk biologically speaking without getting in trouble? If I were a woman, I would have been at the end of my childbearing years. So to have a relationship for 3 years and it not work, another relationship for 5 years and it not work, another relationship for 6 years and it not work, and to the point where another one for 2 years or 18 months, whatever, and it not work, only to meet my wife at the age of 36 and marry her at 38. Like, that's one of the luxuries we have as men. But I also think that we misuse the luxury to the point where then we're 45, 50 and still single. And that's just not a good look. It's just not a good look, nor is it good for us. And I'm going to talk more about why, okay? So that perceived ability to take our time gets us in trouble as men. And I'm not a believer that a man should be married in his 20s. That's an Linnell opinion. That's another one. All right. In 2024, I am not a believer that men should be married in their 20s. I don't think we know ourselves. We haven't come into ourselves. We don't know enough about ourselves to lead somebody else, to educate somebody else on who we are. We're still finding our purpose, getting, in many ways, fully activated in our purpose. If we know our purpose, we're also not financially able to take care. And according to the sister, Frances Cressy Wesseling, the one who wrote the ISIS papers, in her book, she actually suggests that men wait until the age of 35. Get yourself together financially, and she's talking to the black men in particular. Get yourself together financially. This world is too hard to bring children into it without being financially prepared to set them up for success. I think in the book, I remember her likening it to trying to row upstream if you do it otherwise. And I think that's what a lot of us have experienced is, not getting anywhere financially, not getting anywhere with the family because we didn't take the sister's advice. If you haven't read the ISIS papers, you should. We established that sexual tethers work both ways for men and women, right? And I think sometimes when it comes to sex, men feel like we can get away scot-free. Like, as long as I don't have a child by her, then that interaction didn't cost me anything. And what we established in last week's show, is that sexual intercourse is costing a man something as well. And often it's also tethering him to a partner that he wouldn't be with otherwise. He's spending time with, who, by the way, if I went back and I listened to the caller last week, so I'm not breaking this brother's confidentiality. He said it on the air. He got with a woman who was attractive, didn't share his values, and he ended up having a child by her. So he planted a seed in a garden that he couldn't tend to. Think about that. So then, and the difference is, if I plant a seed in a garden that I can't tend to, then that seed may grow in a way that I can't control, but it's still my seed. It's different. Like if I plant right now, I go to my garden and I plant, I'm trying to think of a particular plant. Let's say, some peppers. Okay. I plant some peppers. I can tend to those peppers. I see something going on. I can, groom it. I can, sometimes prune them, make it grow in a way where I'm like, this will grow and continue to grow and bear good fruit. I don't know why I use peppers, but y'all get, anyway, you get the point. Probably not a good example. But when I plant my seed in a garden that I can't control, then I also can't control the seed. That's what men are giving away. They're giving away the control and influence of their seed. Did we get how big that is? Like my downline, my descendants. I'm giving away control of and the culture is saying, no big deal. Have a baby by me, be a millionaire. I'm just saying, right? And it's like, yeah, but then, okay, you're a millionaire, but I can't control. Okay, I got money, it doesn't matter, but I can't control the outcome of that seed. And then you can look at the billionaires and millionaires and often their offspring and how they're disappointed by those seeds later. I'm not going to share names because then it gets politically polarizing, but there's some names out there who are like, that seed of mine is off. But they never had a chance to tend to it. They never had any control of the garden. And so then, of course, that seed would be off. How do you want, and as men, I'm going to talk about vision in a moment, but this is why vision is so important. A lack of clarity on what type of woman a man would like to be with in relationship equates to life problems for men. Let me say it again. When I'm not clear on the type of woman I want to be in relationship with, and I'm allowing my lust and my passions to dictate who I'm around, and when I say who I'm around, women I'm with, that leads to life problems for me. Baby mamas, like life problems. I'm going to tell you the best education I had on not having children out of wedlock was at the barbershop. At the barbershop, listening to the brothers complain about their baby mamas and compare war stories. Man, that frightened me. Bro, I was like, it's that bad? I mean, like, she took me to court again, bro. Man, she won't let me see my son. Or well, I was like, woo. That was the best education for me not to make that type of mistake. Like, just listening to these brothers talk about their baby mamas. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. I didn't say this, but I wrote this based on the notes from last week's show. Clarity in dating. This is going to lead us right into point number 3. All right, step number 3. Clarity in dating is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. Indispensable. Clarity in dating is indispensable. If you go out on the stormy seas of dating, because it's not a calm sea, You know, it's not a let me tell you, okay, Linnell, you married, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me check in. Titus and Ade, is the sea of dating calm?
Nowhere near.
Yeah.
Okay, no, okay. All right, so you would say this is a stormy sea where you're trying to get to the shore of someone else who is loving and kind and who you can build some level of a future with. Solid land, right? And you all are saying that dating for men, as a man, because by the way, I hear from sisters all the time, like, oh, it's horrible out here.
Yeah.
But as a man, what you're saying that you agree with me that dating can be depicted as a stormy sea.
Yes.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, so if that's the truth, then clarity in dating is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. Now, what does a lighthouse do? What does a lighthouse do on a stormy sea? Answer me, brothers. Like, what is a lighthouse? I want us to get this. What does a lighthouse do?
Can serve as a guide.
It serves as a guide. Okay, what else?
It's your beacon to the nearest land.
It's a beacon to the nearest land. You want to know the most important role of a lighthouse? To keep a ship off the rocks. To keep you from becoming shipwrecked. Huh? All right, so let me go back to what I just said here. Clarity in dating is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. I'm clear. No way am I dating you. You don't even line up. Bro, she fine though. Nah, I'm good. Yo, you see that walk though? I'm good. Because if I date her, my ship might end up on the rocks. And when your ship, like go back to the early, 1400s, 1500s, if your ship ends up on the rocks, that's all your money. All your goods are laid out, floating in the water. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. Dating without clarity is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. It is indispensable. You must have clarity when dating. Men, you must be clear. You cannot follow your eyes. You know what I'm saying? Oh, your eyes will get you in trouble, brother. Men do not evaluate a woman's accomplishments when deciding if she will be a good life partner. Now, this was a trigger point for sisters last week.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Here's one of the comments I got. Let me read it to you, Titus. Okay? Here's one of the comments I got. I listened to your program about Simone Biles and her husband. Number one, the program was not about Simone Biles and her husband. But this is how polarizing that was for people, okay? The show became about Simone Biles and her husband. I counted the minutes. We spent about 4 minutes on that, right? Out of a hour and 45-minute show, all right? It was polarizing, all right? I listened to your program about Simone Biles and her husband. You said a man does not care about your accomplishments. That is really an insult to her and every woman who has made an accomplishment. If he does not respect you, do not marry him. Now notice how this turned into a matter of respect. It turned into a matter of respect. It also turned into an insult. It also turned into an insult. Now, I actually understand the sisters, like the trigger point here. I do. Because if you were single, and in that time you were single, you put your feet to the ground, you said, I'm going to do something with myself. Only to learn that it has not raised your value in the dating stock market, that can be tough. But it doesn't make it not true. Okay? This is like, I want to be very clear about this. This is how men, and I asked the brothers to call in and tell me if you disagree. Not one called in. I got 2 brothers in the studio. And by the way, I spent time with men all week, my birthday week. So I was around brothers all week, and I checked in with them. Hey, was I off here? They were like, no, I mean, what matters is I need a woman who's going to show up like this, this, and this, and this. What she does doesn't necessarily matter to me. Now, when we say that, it's not that there's a disregard or disrespect for what you've accomplished. That's not how a man leads in his thinking about a life mate. So when I said a man doesn't care about your accomplishments, I only said that in the context of what we were talking about, which is dating, which is finding a life partner. Not overall. It's not that I don't care about sisters' accomplishments overall. I want to be clear about that, okay? The show was about dating. All right, okay. All right, sisters, I love that you've gone out and done things. I love that African-American and black women are the most educated class of women in the United States of America. I believe that's something we can leverage and something we should leverage. And it hasn't led to higher rates of marriage. Both can be true. Both can be true. Okay? I spoke with another woman this past week who was like, it was a trigger point, but then it clicked that she's been leading in her interactions with men with her professional prowess, which is likely why that polarization hasn't happened. It needs to be more personal. It needs to be more feminine, not who I am in the work world. Because men don't really care when they're looking for a partner what it is that you do in the world. What we care about is your core values and your lead with that. This is who I am, not your title, but I'm a respectful woman of God. It's like, oh, really? Huh? Like that, now you caught my attention, right? Now, oh, you're talking about your character. You caught my attention. You're talking about your core values. You caught my attention. Okay. But you could say, oh, I do this and that, and that. I lead this at my firm, blah, blah, blah. And guys like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Now I'm thinking about you in a networking way. Not in a dating way. You get where I'm going? Okay. All right. So the other thing that we establish is that one of the biggest mistakes a man can make is teaching himself to only go halfway, especially with himself. And this is what we talked about, self-love. And I'm covering this again because just in case a man missed it, I want to make sure you get it before we go into step number 3 at the top of the hour. One of the biggest mistakes a man can make is teaching himself to only go halfway. If you only go halfway for yourself, what makes you think you're going to turn it up later when you get a woman? What makes you think you're going to turn it up later when you get a family? Like you have to be willing to push the pace for you. That's self-love for a man. That's self-love for a man. Now, let me go into why this is incredibly important. As a man, you should be asking yourself, am I loving myself in a way that allows me to fulfill on the expectations I have of myself? Am I loving myself? Every man has a set of expectations for himself. This is why we get depressed, bros. This is why we feel under like, man, this is not working. Because we all have an expectation uploaded inside of us of ourselves, who I should be in this world, how I should show up. And you can be operating beneath it and ignore it, but you know it's still there. It's still there. There's a desire that every man has to be of value in this world. It was put there by the Creator himself. Okay? And the biggest mistake you can make, the biggest mistake you can make as a man is allowing yourself to go half speed, halfway, especially when you choose a life partner. If you think that if she was the consolation prize, that marriage is going to work. Sis in for a long ride, and so are you. Okay? You do not want a man that acquiesced and said, all right, I guess we could do this. You do. Okay. You try to make that work when things get hard. See, why are you not all in? He wasn't all in to begin with. Okay? And a man should be all in for himself and say, you know what? I don't know why I've been in this relationship. I don't know why I stayed with you as long as I had. This is not what I want. I'm not going halfway. I'm not going halfway. Okay? As a man, you should be asking yourself, am I loving myself in a way that allows me to fulfill on the expectations I have for myself? So what that means is you're asking yourself the question, am I bringing 100% of myself to the table for myself in every capacity of life? I'm going to say it again. Am I bringing what? This is self-love for men. Am I bringing 100% of myself to the table for myself in every capacity of life? Am I doing that for my health? Am I doing it in my if I can't be myself with my boys? Think about that. This is the wrong group for me. I need to find new partners. If I can't be myself. I was with a group of men. We all went out Friday night. Each of us are very different. Each of us, when we sat around that table, were ourselves. One of the brothers didn't drink. He didn't have a drink. A few of the brothers drink. They drank. Me, I had one. Nobody changed who they were. You get where I'm going? Not one of us changed how we move just because we were with other. Like we all were ourselves. We represented ourselves. I am able to bring 100% of 100% of myself to the table for myself in every capacity of life. My health, my relationships with other men, and most importantly, doing the work that is valued. I'm bringing 100% of myself to the table for myself in my work. Not for the boss, for me. Because if I teach myself to go half speed, then I'll go half speed in other areas of life. I believe one of the reasons why men are struggling in their confidence is partly because of a lack of purpose. So, purpose provides identity. And let me take it a step further. A man, what most women are looking for is a masculine man. Okay? Now, what will ground a man in masculinity is stability, predictability, right? Like, I am who I am. I'm not moving off that. Well, if I'm going to be a man that doesn't move, then I need to be anchored in something that has me to believe there's no reason to move. The only thing that gives me the confidence that I'm anchored in the right place of my life is my life's purpose. That is my plumb line, not my wife. If my wife was my plumb line, I would be all over the place. I would be anxious. And by the way, no shade to my wife. It's just that she's a woman. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Ladies, don't get offended. Don't get upset. Women have feminine flow. And feminine flow is not predictable. Feminine flow moves based on what is happening in the environment, what is going on. As the, and it's beautiful for raising children. It's beautiful for taking care of a home because my son's disposition can go up and down, and I might not change, and she meets him where he is. You get where I'm going? That's necessary. I'm like, hey, boy, honey, he needs this right now. Okay, if you say so, right? Because I'm going to handle it the way I handle it always, pretty much the same, right? That's the beauty of feminine nurture. right? But then at the same time, that feminine flow can have an opinion about me. And if I allow her opinion about me to change how I feel about myself, I'm all over the place emotionally. What matters is that I'm anchored in my purpose. What matters is that I'm connected to the Creator through the anchor of my purpose. And my purpose is what provides me my identity. That's how I identify with myself. Not through my wife's lens, not through my children's lens, not through anybody else's, but the Creator himself. That gives me something solid to stand on. And I think one of the big mistakes that many of us are making as men is we've given our confidence away. And we've given our confidence away because we lack identity. And the reason we lack identity is because we lack purpose. If you think this purpose conversation is just a nice to have conversation, it goes so much deeper than that. It's one of the reasons why I've been such a proponent for purpose the way I've been. Step 2 for a man is purpose. Step 1 is self-love. Step 2 is purpose. And the reason self-love is first is simply because self-love creates the fertile ground for you to know that there's more I should be doing. Like, you know, if I'm so awesome, then that means I should be up to something awesome. If God loves me so much and I'm worthy, I should be doing something worthy of his love. My purpose. Purpose provides vision. Vision provides discipline. And discipline provides freedom. I'm going to go through that again in a second. I want you all really to get this. But before I go there, brothers, let me tell you something. You have to guard your confidence. Guard your confidence. Don't let anyone or anything eat at your confidence.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Please.
So this young lady that I was talking to a couple years ago tried to eat at my confidence when I first became program director here at WVON. I told her, she was one of the first people I told her, and she asked me not to take the position. And I said, why would I not do that? Because I will be the youngest program director in the city of Chicago. And this is something I've been striving for and hoping that, you know, eventually I would get the opportunity to become that. And it broke down my confidence. Like, I was trying to ask her, like, what, you don't think I'll do a good job? Would you think that, you know, something's wrong? She's like, no, you work hard, you do everything you're supposed to do, but that means that I will have less time to be around you. And that's when it clicked in my head that this person is not for my purpose in life. This person is a placeholder, and I need to get away from this type of energy because I can't create my purpose with dealing with that type of energy around me.
Hey, man, I thank you for sharing the story. And let me share this. I'm being thoughtful. But I believe I can say this. Almost every woman that you meet is going, if this work is your purpose, they're going to test it. And it doesn't mean that she's not the one. Women test you. It's part of their role. And part of their role to test us is for us to remain sure that we're anchored in the right place. The testing is good. There's nothing wrong with a test. It's whether or not you fail or pass, right? It's up to you if you fail or pass. And that's about knowing what it is. In this case, you passed. You're like, nope, this is what I intend to do. But this is what I meant around the difference between masculine and feminine. Because I can also guarantee you that if you listen to her, then she might have been the person to leave and said you should have took that job, you would have made more money. And by the way, this is not in any way shade towards women. This is the function of the feminine. A woman can actually say something and then come back and say it's polar opposite later and not be held accountable in the same way that a man will. And I want to be so clear. This is not gender wars. It's just what it is. Like, can we be with ourselves? You can read any book on femininity and it all says the same thing. It all says the same thing. Like, femininity is a flow. And women, a good woman who is married and knows herself will laugh at this right now and say, yeah, it's true. You get where I'm going? Like, they will test you on something. And so you have to stay grounded in your purpose. Do you think, since I've known my wife, I've been on VON, do you think she's always been a fan of the fact I have to go to the radio station?
Definitely not.
Do you think it's moved me?
Nope.
It's my purpose. And anybody that's like, oh my God, I can't believe his wife is a hypocrite if you're a woman. Because you do your man the same way. It's just the reality of it. This is why I'm talking to the brothers. Like, when it becomes, I'm going to tell you when it becomes a problem, if she begins eating at my confidence, which she's never done. You see the difference? You shouldn't do that show because you ain't no good. Oh, okay, now we got an issue. You get where I'm going? Now we got a problem. Now what happened? What you just say? You get where I'm going? All right. Be and do your God-given purpose. And the consequence of being and doing your God-given purpose is you will feel valued. And a man's value should not be based in his woman. It should be based in the work that God gave him. Okay? That don't mean I don't love my wife. It don't mean I don't love my children. But I don't get confused about why I'm alive. That makes sense? I don't get confused about my purpose for living.
Yeah.
All right? Okay. What this does for a man is it gives you a clear line of direction. It's a very easy order to follow. God, thank you for my life. Which way am I marching? Your marching orders are this. Okay. Your woman comes, I don't think you should do that. All right, woman, whatever. I'm marching, right? Because the next day you'll be like, I love that you do that. You're so good at it. All right, woman, thank you. You get where I'm going?
Well, yeah.
Like, and it's no shade because I understand that God made you to test me, to ensure that I'm anchored properly. Purpose, for the brothers out here who have a hard time wrapping their mind around one woman, I want you to listen to this again. Your purpose provides a vision. That vision provides discipline. The reason you don't believe you can be with just one woman is because you don't have the right vision for your life. When you get the right vision for your life, like what you're supposed to be doing, like what you really are supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be living, what it is that you're supposed to be creating, and the impact you're supposed to have, that vision will be so clear, it will give you the discipline that you need. It will give you the desire to be with your one. And then that discipline creates a whole new type of freedom. I don't want to be locked up there because you don't understand what true freedom is. Purpose for men, I firmly believe, is a prerequisite for a relationship. This is why I tell sisters that when you're dating, you should ask a man, so what's your purpose? Because if he's like, well, you kind of know where that date should go. Nowhere else. Because he ain't going nowhere. Right? And if you ask a man once, ask him twice. If you ask him twice, ask him 3 times. Because the other thing about purpose is that it is stable. A man's purpose don't shift and change like that. So it's going to be the same thing all the time, and you will see it in action. Not just talking about it, but you'll see it in action. Here's the last piece about purpose, and then we're going to move on to number 3, setting a clear intention. The pursuit of purpose provides practice with being a healthy aggressor. So last week, we talked about you all running across the street, 50-50, healthy aggression in relationship, etc., right? And we established that it's like a 50-50 chance, like that you will, that you won't, all right? Here's the thing about purpose. When a man is pursuing his purpose, there are certain things you're going to have to do strictly on faith. Simply because you heard the voice of God. And it's important that you begin to build that relationship and build that faith, because that's what's going to be required to be successful in a relationship. Like the ability to hear something and say, okay, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm clear. It also teaches us how to be healthy aggressors, because if I'm willing to go after something that I can't see, right, it's only a vision in my mind, and I'm willing to go after that, then when the Creator places the woman I'm supposed to go after in my life, you think, if I've been going after things I can't see, I've been going after things based on faith, right? And I've been accomplishing those things. Do you think when he puts the woman in front of me that I can see, that I'm going to pause? This is the difference now when you're operating within your purpose. You have a clear level of self-love. Your confidence is intact. Now you see that woman and something says, she could be it. You see the difference? You'll jog across the street because you're in practice of being aggressive in a healthy way in your life. So let's talk about setting clear intentions. When I work with clients on relationship, one of the things that we talk about is creating conditions of satisfaction for relationship. And when you're creating conditions of satisfaction for relationship, this is what it should look like. Every man who is serious about like getting into a long-term loving relationship, like you're looking at marriage as a potential, you should have very clear non-negotiables that you don't cross. And that the line for those non-negotiables are so clear that if that woman doesn't meet the non-negotiables, you cut it off. I'm going to give some examples. One of my non-negotiables was a woman that loved God. Like, she had to be a woman that had a relationship with God. That's like, if she didn't have a relationship with God, it ain't going nowhere. I'm not. And part of that is I learned through error. I remember being in a relationship with a woman who didn't have a relationship with God. She was super stressed out, anxious. And I was like, well, maybe you should pray about it. And she said, for what? How is that going to make me feel better? And I remember being like, I don't know what to say now. Because if you don't have a relationship with God and you don't pray, like, how, like, there are going to be things that I, as your man, can't solve. And if you don't have a relationship with God, like for me, that was a non-negotiable. If you don't have a relationship with God, like, I don't know who to refer you to. Now, get this. The same woman who didn't have a relationship with God, who came to me when she was stressed out and anxious, and I referred her to prayer, it's the same woman that cheated on me with another man. because she didn't have God to go to. So guess what she did with her anxiety when I wasn't around? I ain't saying that's how it would go all the time, but it became a non-negotiable for me. It's like, you get where I'm going? Okay, I need a woman that can go to God, because if she can't go to God, she might go to another man. It was just simple for me. So then when that became a non-negotiable, let me give you an example. When that became a non-negotiable for me, conditions of satisfaction, there are two parts of conditions of satisfaction. Conditions of satisfaction are made up of your non-negotiables and your conditional standards. We're talking about non-negotiables right now. When that becomes a non-negotiable, when I began dating with intent, because there was a while I dated without intent, right? It was, I had an intent, but it wanted to be married, okay? But when I began dating with intent and I established my non-negotiables, it would blow your mind how many beautiful women I sat across on a date who were like, I don't know about God. I'm a bit agnostic. What you doing later, though? You're going to get tested. You're going to get tested. And I'm like, nope, that's a non-negotiable. I'm done. Like the conversation, like the date was practically, I didn't just get up and walk away, but it was like, I'm done. And we're going to talk about taking action as step number 4. Step number 4 is taking aligned action with the intentions. It creates a certain level of integrity, right? This is how you create what it is that you want. When you create an intention and then you take aligned actions with that intention, that's your in integrity, and your words are aligned as well. So the promise I made God when I was looking for my wife was that I wasn't going to involve myself with any woman but the woman that he landed me with. And so I'm dating, and for the first time in my life, women were asking me up for coffee. That's how it goes, man. And I'm like, I never got this money. When I wanted it, they wouldn't say it, and now I'm trying to be right, and it's coming, And these are the same people who didn't meet my non-negotiables. It's like, no, I'm just dropping you off. I don't plan to see you again. And I had to take aligned action to say good night. Have a good life. Because that's pretty much, I'm not going out with you again. You don't meet my non-negotiables. I'm so clear on what I want in a woman. I'm so clear. And you don't meet it. I value myself, going back to self-love, too much to align myself with you, even for a night. Even for one night. Can't do it. I love myself too much. I love my seed and what I'm going to create in this life too much. Like, brothers, have you actually thought about the value of your seed? We just give it away.
I have.
Just give it away. And the seed is not just a seed. It's your life force. It's your energy. It's your chi. We closed the last show talking about this. We just give it away. No big deal. To people who we may never see again. Setting a clear intention. What are your non-negotiables? Now, the non-negotiables are made up of the values that you're looking for. Someone who fears God, right? Someone who has family values. See, because if I start my conversations, if I start my dates, if I start the initial phone conversations with this, I don't find myself in trouble later. You get where I'm going? Now, we talked about how the feminine changes. You'll be tested. You'll be like, you didn't say that before. It might be a test, right? But overall, a woman's values are her values. So now I'm looking for your values. Like, what matters to me as a man? What do I want as a man? And I believe one of the reasons so many men are where they are in their lives is because they're not clear. They're not clear. And we go back to what I said earlier in the first part of the show, that clarity in dating is the equivalent of a lighthouse on a stormy sea. It is indispensable. It is indispensable. If you're not clear, you're setting yourself up to be dashed against the rocks. And for the brothers out there who, you feel a bit disenfranchised by a relationship, just ask yourself, were you clear when you got into that relationship? If it ended poorly, I can almost guarantee that you lack clarity. I can almost guarantee that you weren't very clear about what you were looking for. You went with what came. And that will end up with shipwreck. That ends up in shipwreck. Okay. So you have your non-negotiables that are three to five things that you're looking for that are hardcore values. You don't want more than that because you don't want to cut every woman on the planet off. You know what I'm saying? Like, loves God, knows how to pray. Those were like some of mine. Willing to listen was another non-negotiable. And listens and takes action. Let me tell you something my wife did that, I was like, wow. I remember her asking me, she's like, how do you see, your financial future and what do you believe about your finances? And I was like, well, I could tell you, or I could give you a book that I base my financial beliefs on. And she was like, what's the book? So I gave her the book. That was like a Monday, Tuesday, something like that. We were out on a date. And so came back to the house, gave her the book. By Friday, she had read the book. She was like, yeah, I read your book. And she was telling me about it. I'm just looking at her like, okay. All right. Uh-huh. Yeah, this is what I've been looking for. This is different. This is what I've been looking for. It start to get clear. I met my wife in April of 2013. I proposed to her in December of 2013 because I was clear. I was clear. All right. So then let's go to conditional standards. Those are the non-negotiables, right? That's what I was looking. Those are three of my non-negotiables I just gave you examples of that she clearly indicated she aligned with. And as a result, my question was, you want to be my girlfriend? Why wouldn't I? Right? It's very clear that you align. The next piece are conditional standards. And conditional standards are the things that you would like to see. They're not non-negotiables, but they're conditional, right? And so you're asking for, do you work out? Do you believe in physical fitness? Those are things that, in terms of my conditional standards, were good. Hey, how you think about your diet? These conditional standards, how do you see family? Tell me about your family. Tell me about the dynamics of your family. All these things were things that I wanted to be able to evaluate and kind of check off the list. And there were things I learned that didn't meet my conditional standards about my wife. But overwhelmingly, she met them. And so I continue, right? And then what I tell my clients is, if you have a list of, 20 to 30 conditional standards, if a person meets 80% of them, you better be with them. You should be with them. No one's going to meet 100%. Now, let me tell you what's happened in the last 9 years. We'll be 10 years next year of marriage. There were conditional standards that my wife didn't necessarily meet that I would have liked that she meets now. Because conditional standards can change. Values don't. Values don't. The non-negotiables, those are still the same. Those are things she still believes in, and still that's how she shows up. You get where I'm going? The conditional standards can change. If you recall last week, I was like, sisters, you don't walk away from men because of his shoes and his outfit. That's conditional standard. That should not be a non-negotiable. Right? Same thing for men. Don't walk away from her because of her shoes and her outfit. That's a conditional standard. I would prefer that you dress differently. Now, if she's not dressed, then I would have a value question. Do you believe in a certain level of modesty for women? If she's like, no, then it could be one of your non-negotiables. I want a modest woman. It could be a non-negotiable. All right, is this making sense? Am I clear? Let me ask both Titus and Ide, in terms of setting a clear intention, do you believe you know how to set a clear intention for who you will date in the future? By the way, all this should be written down. It's not in your head. It's all written down.
No, absolutely. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah.
All right. So it's clear.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, gentlemen, here's the hard part. Once you get clear, you have to take aligned action if you want to manifest that woman into your life. I've said it to women, I'm going to say it to men. If you think you can go spreading yourself around energetically while you're looking for the one, you are mistaken. What do I mean by spreading yourself around energetically? I mean spreading yourself around sexually. It's very difficult for you to lock in on the one and you're spread all over the place. Because we've already identified in the conversation that sex creates tethers. So I'm tethered to somebody, but I'm looking for something else. How does that make sense? And then the crazy part is I could find it, but then if I can't unleash the tether, I could lose it. Ooh, wouldn't that hurt? Can you imagine finding the one only for a sexual tether you created while you were looking for the one to take you out? And this is how it takes you out. It takes you out because that person ain't went nowhere. So they like, what you doing? You like, well, I just... And don't let her be like, no, we not getting down like that. And then so-and-so calling you talking about you need something. You still tethered to her. So then you go spend time with her. And then the one, this literally happened to me. I'm so grateful I cut the tethers. Because I remember one evening I called my wife. She didn't pick up. And I had options. You know what I'm saying? But I cut the options. And there was a temptation to be like, man, because we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. I was still free. But I was dating with intention, and she had all my intention at the time, and she didn't pick up. It was a Saturday evening. I'm like, huh. And then something spoke to me and said, you know, she out somewhere with somebody. And you about to go home and be by yourself. You should call somebody too. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. Right? Again, remember what I said about this is the beauty. This is the beauty of not doing things for a woman. Because purpose provides vision. My purpose gave me a vision. And so I'm like, I'm not doing that. Vision provides discipline. So it ain't about her. It's about the game I'm playing. I'm not about to pick up another tether. If she's not the one, she's not the one. I'm going to remain untethered for the one. That makes sense? So I was like, no, I'm going to go home. I walk in the house, my phone rings. And mind you, we're still dating at the time. What you doing? Nothing. Oh, good. I'm on my way to your house. Now, what if I had gone somewhere else? What if I invited someone else to the house? And we wonder, like, you're going to get tested. You're going to get tested. You get where I'm going? What if somebody else was at it and she calls, I'm on the way to your house. Hold on now. Well, wait, this is the one. Oh, you know what? She'd be like, forget it. Don't worry about it. You think she going to pick up the next morning? Right. You played me last. I know what you were on. Come on, it ain't hard. You can't talk. You can't stay on the phone with me. I can't come see you. I thought I was the only one. The one thing that a woman who wants to be, who you're going to lock in wants from you is for you to be a man of your word, right? What do women want? Stability, predictability. A man of your word. That's what being masculine is. That's why my wife can say things that I can't say. My wife, I could go home today. My wife can openly question. I'm not saying she would, but she can openly question the relationship. I don't know why I'm married to you. I just don't know what's going on. I'll be like, what's today's date? Right? I could never walk in the house and be like, I don't know why I'm married to you. I don't know what am I doing? Like it would be like a sword through the heart for her. Because as a man, my word matters. And my actions must align with them. Men, you be careful trying to go tit for tat with a woman on what she says. This is why you have to be given to the Creator and to your purpose. Like, honey, I hate you feel that way, But at the end of the day, my confidence is still intact. You can't do better. You know what I mean? You ain't going to meet a man of purpose like me. So whatever's going on for you, you need to figure out, because I'm here. I'm here. I'm going to be here for you. Well, baby, I'm sorry I was like that yesterday. I don't know what was going on with. That's how, I don't know what was going on with me. Will you forgive me? I'll forgive you, baby. All right, cool. Right? But I could never meet her there. Right? These sensitive brothers, you better get yourself together. This is why you need grounding in the Creator. You find your value from the Creator, not from your woman's words. And not that she's tearing down your confidence, but women gonna test you. And by the way, when my wife says something like that, I don't believe that's how she feels. I believe she's looking for affirmation from me about how I feel. Are you in? If I question a relationship, will you question it? It's a test. Feminine flow will test you. You got to be anchored. The night before my wife and I got married, she came to me and said, you don't have to do this. I know. I asked you. Are you sure you want to be? She was like, you sure you want to be married to me? Absolutely, 100%. Well, if you backed out right now, I wouldn't be mad. You lying. That's not true. You're going to be angry. But it was a test. You get what I'm going? Baby, look, you go to sleep. You go up there with your sisters. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go over here with these. I'll see you in the morning. I love you. Versus, what do you mean? What you trying to say? You don't want to be with me? Blah, 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 blah. No. This is where if I'm grounded in my confidence as a man, I realize it ain't about me. It's her going through her thing. She needs reassurance. It's time to reassure her versus question her. Okay. So taking aligned action, I could go story after story about taking aligned action. I would not be with my wife if my integrity faltered while we were dating. There were too many tests. We walked into buildings where there were exes who that week tried to get with me. And I was like, no. If I had got with them, you think the ex was going to be quiet and kind the way they were? They'd have been like, who's she? What's that? Like, they would have been carrying my energy and she would have felt that. When I tell you taking aligned action is everything, here's the main reason why. Our ability to powerfully create is manifest through our personal integrity. This is energetic. It ain't about what she knows. Because sometimes, men will function like, well, she don't know, it won't hurt her. It ain't about what she knows. It's about you and your energy, your frequency, and your vibration. The one thing you can't fool is the universal laws that God put in place. You lay with somebody else, your frequency is going to change. You lay with somebody else, your vibration changes. And she may not know, but what you were looking to manifest in your life may fall apart. And that is the key. It's not the woman. It's the vision. I believe a lot of men are struggling because they just don't have vision. I don't know how you faithful in there. Because I have vision. It's my vision that creates the discipline, not the woman. If it were the woman, then Jay-Z wouldn't have cheated. Huh? I mean, Beyonce ain't fine enough? It's the vision. You can go, ooh, I can't believe he cheated on her. She's so fine. What's wrong with him? He's stupid. No, he just don't have vision. His purpose is not clear and his vision is not clear. It got blurred. That's what happened there. So when my intent is clear, brother, and I'm taking action aligned with the intent, no matter the temptation, and my words are aligned with that as well, I am in an order where I cannot help but create what it is I'm looking for as a man. I can't help but manifest her walking into the room. I can't help but manifest her being introduced to me. I can't help but manifest her being in the space, in the social setting that allows me to get to know her. I can't help but to manifest that. But here's the thing, it ain't a microwave meal. We want everything right now. Right now. And guess what? The beauty of it not coming right now is it gives you time to prepare. And let me be clear something. A lot of us we need some time to prepare. We need some time to prepare. So if my energy is going into me and into the purpose that God gave me and into the vision that that purpose has presented me, and I'm using that to supply the discipline that I need, how can I lose? You can go 2 years celibate and you won't care because of what you created in your life. Because of what you built in your life. You look at this, man, it was the best 2 years of my life because I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't be clear. I wouldn't have the focus I have. I wouldn't have built this business. I wouldn't have gone to where I was going if I didn't get my clarity. Some of us, we're not clear because we're skeeting it away. Are we grown today? And you wonder why you confused. You wonder why it's like I can't seem to get, well, let's go back to chapter 13 of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, Sexual Transmutation. It's the one chapter that I read when I was in my 20s. I was like, I think I can get around it. Because I didn't want to have to sacrifice. I didn't want to I think I can get around this. I couldn't manifest my wife until I actually did it. Where I learned how to transfer my sexual energy into my purpose. This is called taking aligned action. Oh man, I could really, really use being with a woman right now. And then something would hit and say, well, you can make a phone call or you can go back and look at your notebook. See what you're building. Phone be right there. When I was single, I'm going to just put it out there. I had a list. I could go down a list of women. Don't pick up, cool. You got one? Ladies, this is real. Like, you run around and think you're the only one. You ain't the only one until that man says, I want you to be the only one for the most part. All right? My wife and I were talking the other day, and she was like, women outnumber men. I'm like, you didn't know that? There are more women in the world than men? You didn't know that? Don't talk about black men. Most black men on a college campus, if a black man is on a college campus, he's like, what, 15 to 1? You think he only got one girlfriend? Stop yourself. Stop yourself. Are you kidding me? Oh, anyway, okay. 15 to 1? The odds don't even make sense for that guy to only have one woman. And half the time it's the girlfriend's friend. Am I lying? Am I lying, Titus?
No.
Here's what happens when you choose yourself. You go into those notes, and I would get lost in my work. Look up, it'd be midnight. Go take a shower, go to bed. What's the song that says, one day at a time? Hey, man, I used to be like, thinking that in the back of my mind, one day at a time, bro. 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. Whoo! Then after a while, you'd be like, all right, she's going to have to be worth it now. She's going to have to be worth it. All right? You take aligned action. Here's step 5. Words are powerful. And when you use words in a programming nature, in a cognitively programming nature, you can create wonders. When it comes to affirmation, there are people who you can go on Google right now, and there'll be an article that says, affirmations work, here's how to do it. Then there'll be another article that says, why affirmations don't work. Okay. Well, let me give you my very personal experience with affirmations. Everything I've created in my life has come through the vehicle of prayer and affirmation. Prayer first being, does this align with the vision? Let me get guidance. And if it does align with the vision, then let me affirm it. Now, let me say this. I remember in my 20s, I prayed a prayer for a woman. Any of y'all ever prayed a prayer for a woman? You ever prayed a prayer for a woman? Titus, you have? I was like, God, please let this work. I believe she's the one for me. I was like 24, 25. I was so in love. I was so in love. Oh, so in love. Ooh. Like, she was just everything. I couldn't do nothing but think about it. You ever prayed a prayer for a woman yet, Titus? I mean, Ade?
Not in that way.
Keep living.
Yeah.
All right, so
not in that way, yeah.
not in that way. God, please, Lord, if she's the one, like, let this come together. Like, give me what I need. Give me the words, Lord, to say that will woo her towards me. And then this was the end of the prayer. But if she's not the one, just remove her from my life. A week later, she was like, I don't want to talk to you no more. Boom. Oh, Jesus, why? Oh, Lord. Oh, right. I was like, I can't. I asked for it.
That's pretty much what happened to me, too.
Yeah. Please remove her from my life. She was gone. I was like, no. Right. Now, 20-something years later, woo, thank you, Lord. Thank you. What I didn't know then, that God had in store for me now. Brothers, you hear me? Do you hear me? Like, sometimes we think what's good for us. Like, we think we know what's good for us. And the Creator's like, hold on that. I got something better. And we can't even, something better than that? But Jesus, look at her. She's amazing. He's like, I got something better for you, right? My wife at the time was 16 years old. I couldn't see that. I was 24, she's 16. He's like, look, man, you wait 12 years. I got something really nice for you. Woo, am I happy. What I'm saying here is take aligned action. All right, let's spend the last 6 minutes on affirmation. I want to teach you how to properly affirm. So an affirmation is a present tense statement for what it is that you desire to create. And this is what will get you right? And the reason this is important is because our knee-jerk reactions come from the subconscious mind. If as a man, you ended the evening somewhere and you like, why am I here? It's because your subconscious mind was programmed to go there. Like, why am I with her again? Something subconscious is, it's the subconscious programming. And so what you have to do is you have to rewire your mind and your subconscious. And for some of you all listening, the first affirmation might be one of self-love. You know what, Linnell, man, I've been listening to you. My self-love and confidence ain't where it's supposed to be. Then that affirmation is, I am happy and grateful that the Creator has planted in me a love for myself that has transformed how I show up. And you say that every day? You read that every day? You say it out loud every day? Watch how your opinion of yourself begins to transform because you're actually reprogramming a subconscious mind that it's time to love me. Another affirmation could be, I'm so happy and grateful that I have found my God-given purpose and I'm now making an impact on the planet and it has me feeling valued. Right? Because we know men need to feel valued. You can actually affirm that and watch how it comes towards you. Watch how, now you got to take aligned action as it comes. This is why the very first show I did before I did this show was on possibility. If you didn't listen to that 3 weeks ago, go back and listen to that show on possibility. That's why we got to squeeze the possibility out of everything. Everything that comes in front of us. I said it before, it's not about your boss, it's about you. You go halfway at work, you're teaching yourself to go halfway. It's about you. Man, why you work so hard for them? Because of me. I'm teaching me. I'm holding myself to a standard. You know they don't care about us. I care about me. Another affirmation is I'm so happy and grateful that I've set clear expectations for the woman I will marry. And then you go do it once it starts to come to you. Because right now it might be cloudy. I don't even know what to ask for, man. Might set an affirmation. Affirmations are the subconscious programming that precede the manifestation of. Like it's got to be up here first. I affirmed my relationship with my wife before I met my wife. And what started happening in the affirmation is that it became so real, I began doing things in my home and doing things in my life to prepare for her. You can't wake up every day and say, I wish I had my old 2013 goal here. I probably could pull it up and read the affirmation to you if we have time. We're on a 2-minute mark. All my goals on my computer. Here they go right here, 2013. Anyway, I'm not going to have time to read through it. But my affirmation was something like, I'm happy and grateful that I found a woman that meets my conditions of satisfaction who I will marry, or who I'm married to, that I found. It was all present tense. That I already found her, and I'm married to her. That was the affirmation. In order for me to fulfill on that affirmation, I had to take aligned action, though. And when I met women who I knew weren't my wife, I had to deny myself and deny them. And what supported me in doing this is the vision that I have for my life, the vision I have for family. I could sit across from a beautiful woman and look at her and then, and actually appreciate her beauty and say, but you ain't my wife, though. I can't see having a family with you. I can't see having a life with you. That's not it. You don't meet my non-negotiables. I'm looking for a God-fearing woman. Pay for dinner, have a nice night, drop her off. Some of them I never talk to again, respectfully, because you're not it. You're not the one. The Bible says a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. I want to know when it stopped being a good thing. And I believe it stopped being a good thing because, one, many of us didn't find the woman we ended up with. She found us. Well, that's a problem. And two, we weren't clear. Get clear, brothers. It's time for us to really get powerful and get clear. Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WVON Radio, or you can catch it right here on YouTube or Facebook.com/Coach Linnell Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.